We're going to talk about Week 7 first look, and I'm excited, man. It's good to have a show back with you, and we're going to have plenty of them coming up with the NBA season. So I'm really pumped up about that. Really looking forward to it. I will do an NBA preview if Sheets can join me before either today, tomorrow, Monday, any of the days before it starts. I've got a list of bets. I posted it in the premium Discord, so keep an eye out for that. Just of my season long bets right now. I'm probably going to add a few more to it. So we'll get into it, all that stuff. But for now, we're talking NFL. Sheets, any overall thoughts on this week? And I'll throw mine in after you.
Yeah, for now, we're not talking NFL. We're going to talk about something else first because I haven't spoken to you.
Show, so we got to start with something else.
That's right. So we haven't spoken since. Okay. So for those of you who were following this, remember I told you guys that I was actually threatening to come out of retirement for poker.
Oh.
That there was a World Series of Poker online stuff that my friend Arcadi wanted me to play in New Jersey, and I was going to do it 3 weeks ago. I actually set up an account and all this stuff, even though I'm like hopelessly negative EV and all that stuff. I figured I would take a shot against all these wizards, whatever. So I set up the account, deposited when I was going to go down there, and his whole family got COVID. Okay, so I'm like, whatever. And then I looked at the dates, and Stacy said, you can do it one other night. I'm okay, fine. So I looked, and Tuesday night they were running two tournaments, two WSOP online tournaments. One was a 2K6 max, so got to be real good, very profitable for me in that. And then, and also at 888 with rebuys, whatever. So I said, okay, screw it. So I put 4,500 on. I was going to play the 2,000 and then the 888. Drove 2.5 hours down there to hang out with my buddy, whatever. I even put some of them State Kings. And I put it up, and I told everybody, listen, I'm hopeless. I can't win anymore. But you guys want some of it? Go ahead. And I'm going to charge $1.18, which is probably 45 cents more than I'm supposed to, whatever. So I went down there and I registered, and the 2K got canceled for lack of interest, even though there was a guarantee.
So my God. I don't even think that's – how could they possibly do that?
I can't believe they get away with that. So nonetheless, I was stuck with this with the 888. I had plenty of bullets available. All I can tell you is I weaved through all the wizards and got 12th freaking place. At
my God,
4 a.m. Yep, for like 4,000. It was so much freaking fun. And can I tell you something? I played it just like it was 2006. Yeah. I played just my style, and it was just fun. Now, I'm not saying that that you can win like that long term and like whatever, but it was a lot of fun. People that bet on me somehow made money, and I came out of retirement for one day and right back into retirement. So I figured you didn't notice, otherwise you would have mentioned something.
No, that's awesome. I didn't notice yet. No,
that's what I was going to say is that, we get back to what's his name from Poker X Factor. He was actually tweeting about it. I was posting updates throughout the night about that stuff. So anyway, back to what we got going on, which is a lot of sports, right? This is one of those times where it's going to be soon. I think what they're all going to mix. We're going to have an NBA, NHL, NFL and baseball probably all at once, I think, before the World Series ends. I think.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, it'll happen.
But yeah, so I'm sharing my screen here, and I'm ready to talk about the slate.
All right, let's get into it. So my just thoughts is the NFL has been it's been really horrible. I mean, last week the unders were 12-2-1, the best unders week I believe ever, or in recent history. They're going to have to figure something out with this sport because it's just basically getting to be hard to watch with most teams. And I really think that, the clock is way too long. Teams with 10-minute drives when they're only moving the ball 40 yards. I'm just tired of it. I want to see real football. I want to see some stuff happening. I don't want to see some BS and teams trying to I mean, look, I don't blame the coaches for trying to outmaneuver each other, but it's just not enjoyable.
Are they thinking of maybe making it instead of 40 seconds to go 30 seconds?
But I think they should.
That'd be great. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it would make the game literally 1,000 times better, in my opinion. It's just so stupid, and it's really unnecessary. And it's more plays. Yeah, guys are going to get hurt. You're already doing this anyway. Anyway, that's just my take. All right, let's jump into it. What do you got off first? Because we're not going to have the same ones matched up. So we'll start off with yours.
I have Detroit, Baltimore.
Why don't you start off? Because this seems like a pretty good one to potentially target here.
Right out of the gate, this is probably going to be the best game on the slate.
Whoa.
I thought at the beginning that it was going to be Chargers. I was about to say Clippers, or who knows, Chargers, Chiefs. But for me, I mean, at least first look, this is where all the action is. I mean, I don't know. You have Lamar with Flowers and Andrews on the one side. You have Goff with Amon St. Brown and Laporta on the other. Not to mention the fact that Montgomery, I imagine, is going to be out, but who knows? Right now, he's a non-participant. You get Jahmyr Gibbs taking over most of it. I mean, he could be a good run back too. This could be kind of like an old school multiple player game stack, I think.
Yep.
I think that in cash games, not that I play cash games, but I think Lamar is probably going to be the most popular quarterback, I imagine. But what do I know? And I think right off the bat, you have a really strong game.
Yeah, so I do like the game. The problem so it's kind of an interesting thing. The pass rush has been so unbelievable for Detroit. I mean, you look at that second-year kid; he's already got 13 sacks through 6 games. They are really, really good. But the thing with Lamar, which we've seen in the past before, is that when you have these really strong pass rushes, it tends to actually benefit his rushing upside. So maybe more of a skinny weak stack for me with Lamar, but I do prefer that as the way to go. I don't exactly want to go after Baltimore's defense, but I'm okay with taking pieces. I mean, I don't want to. I'm leaning less toward the Goff triple stack, which I'm going to start using at some point. I just want to say my favorite. Like I like the Flowers. I like the I like the St. Brown on the other side. I like obviously the Mark Andrews and Laporta are both.
Get a little closer to the mic. You're kind of a little.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I like Mark Andrews and Laporta. But the interesting play for me in this game is I think that Jameson Williams is one of the, I don't know, let's call him one of the 15 because there's so many these days, most talented receivers in the NFL. He had the suspension and he was hurt his rookie year. This guy is going to be like, he's probably the most gifted player on their team, skill set wise, wide receiver. St. Brown, I guess you can't put it past St. Brown because St. Brown's been awesome. But I'm just telling you, they're going to start giving this guy more looks. Even if he plays like 40% of the snaps or 30% of the snaps, you're going to see him pop up a lot. And if you're going to play this game or even if you're not playing this game, if you want a really low-owned play with some upside, this guy is it. I think he's going to catch touchdowns about as often as in weeks as that he's not going to. They're going to look for him on big plays. We'll see how often they hit, but he's a 3,800 play that if you want to mix into this game is my favorite millionaire GPP play of the week.
Sounds good to me. I'm in.
Yeah, this kid. I mean, remember they drafted this kid in the first round. He's had all this stuff that happened since then. This guy was like borderline, like a top overall pick. So he's really, really talented. All right, let's move over.
I've got another guy, by the way, who I was like shocked that he was even on the field. He was on the team. Much less, I didn't have him in any of my showdown lineups or whatever. I didn't even have him projected. But they were looking for Nelson Aguilar. I didn't even know he was on the team. Anyway, what he was doing, Lamar was basically trying to hit everybody. I think at one point he had like 7 different receivers or something like that. It was kind of nuts. But I'm just kind of looking to see. No, wasn't a surprise or anything. He's been sort of like that the whole season. Okay, so not a big deal.
Yeah, he's playing the second most snaps of any receiver on Baltimore, which is probably kind of surprising because Bateman was sort of the up-and-coming receiver, and then we have Beckham, who they signed in the offseason. So he's sort of surprising to see him as the number one. I don't know if I can play him in fantasy, but I do think that's something I'll consider for the millionaire maker, if nothing else. All right, we can move on. What do you got next? It's
I have Vegas, Chicago.
All right, why don't you jump in and start off on this one?
Well, first of all, we got this quarterback from Chicago who doesn't exist, and then you have Vegas. I don't even know who's quarterbacking for them. Honestly, could be anybody.
I think it'll be O'Connell.
Oh, you think so?
I'd be surprised if it's not.
Okay.
You think you'd play the rookie, or the
guess so.
I guess they could play there. No, never mind. You're right. They could go different route. Sorry, good.
Yeah. So I guess Josh Jacobs is going to look like a good play for the Raiders. I guess Devontae Adams, I suppose, is going to look like a good play for the Raiders. I guess Jacoby Myers is going to look like a good play for the Raiders. These freaking Raiders, man, like they're just the worst, though. I mean, the coach can't call offense. They do nothing innovative, and it's like really kind of annoying to watch. But then again, the Bears haven't really been great defensively, to say the least. I don't know. I don't know if I can do it. On the Bears side, we have to keep an eye on the running back situation again to see if Roshan Johnson plays. If he's in, I kind of like him at 4,600. He's not in. I don't know. I didn't see how Deontay Foreman did last week. I mean, he got touches. We got 15 touches, I guess. But this is, we'll get to other cheapos later. But I don't know. I think this game is, Jacobs, Adams. Would you go back to DJ Moore even with a backup quarterback? I don't know. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, it's weird. You have a 37.5 total between two of the worst defenses in the NFL. So that's a really weird thing to try to figure out.
Right.
What I would say is that if Brian Hoyer does end up playing, actually, even with O'Connell, I think that you still I'm still going to play some Devontae Adams. I'm pretty sure about that. And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to play some Josh Jacobs against this defense. It is weird, though, because they're both going to be high-owned, and you have this ridiculous, a 37-point total, again, with two of the worst defenses in football. So it's not a game stack for me, but I can get by, maybe the secondary stack with the Roshan Johnson, assuming that he does play, and then jumping over to one of Adams or Jacobs on the other side. I think those are pretty solid plays. I like Adams. I like Jacobs. Fine. I don't trust this Bears defense. I like the over in this game is my early thought, but I don't really know how other than those guys it's going to come. But I and on the Bears side, it's just really hard for me to get to much. Maybe you could argue for Cole Kmet being a reasonable play or DJ Moore, but I just am having a hard time getting there. So probably just Johnson for me over there. But certainly some pieces in the game that looks very undesirable just from a betting line. So, all right, let's move on to the next one. I believe you have Cleveland. Is that right?
Cleveland, Indianapolis.
And I'm still trying to locate that on my screen. There we go.
I guess some more sort of ugliness, I guess.
Yep.
I don't have a lot except where did I write down? Why did I write down Jonathan Taylor? I don't know.
Well, I mean, there's a chance that he might start getting more and more looks as the time goes by.
Yeah. I don't even know why I did that. But the other guy I wrote down from this game is Elijah Moore as a cheapo at 4,200. I'd like to have a quarterback. I'd like Deshaun Watson to play if I'm going to do that.
Right.
But those are the only guys I wrote down was Elijah Moore. I wrote down Jonathan Taylor. I just can't imagine at this point playing any offensive guys against Cleveland. That's my problem.
Yeah, I don't think it's a problem. I think that's the right thing.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah. I think you're like Jonathan Taylor. We'll play him very, very soon. It's not going to be this week, in my opinion.
Okay.
I actually would go out of my way. So Cleveland has given up one offensive touchdown this season, which is kind of amazing because they've also turned the ball over inside their own, on their own side of the field 5 times, and they've given up one touchdown in all season long. Everybody talked about the Jets defense, and they're definitely one of the best. I think that Cleveland looks pretty clearly like the best defense so far we've seen. So it seems like a Cleveland and Jerome Ford day for me.
Jerome Ford, huh?
We get to go back to your guy.
Let's go. I didn't even know that he stayed. Yeah, okay, there it is.
And if you think it's going to be really competitive, then I think you can play some Kareem Hunt also, because that I think both of them are viable and going to get some looks. I think Ford is the much more viable, but we did see Hunt last week get quite a bit of usage. So that's the only problem is the splits, and Ford got more of the work, but you got plenty of work out of Kareem Hunt too. So I like the idea of Ford or Hunt here. And Hunt, we know the deal with Hunt. It's always going to be a little bit of a gamble, but you get that right script at 5K, he can put up 25 fantasy points. And the only problem is that he and Ford, Ford's a decent pass catching running back also. So it's not like there's a clear, okay, you're the pass catching back and you're the whatever. I still believe in the talent level with him. But that's pretty much all I have in this game. And I will go out of my way to spend up it's not spending up that much. It's only 3,300 on DK. I will definitely play the Browns defense as one of the top plays on the slate. This defense is just too good. They wreak too much havoc, and it's going to be tough for Minshew and the Minshewettes to do much with it. All right. You want to start off with New England?
Yeah, New England Buffalo. So obviously New England's definitely on the skids. But Buffalo is coming off of a very, very bad performance against the Jets, and I think that combines for the possibility of Buffalo putting a number on New England. We talked about this the other day just for like a couple of minutes, and presuming that Allen is healthy, which I presume he's healthy enough, right? Dude, I don't know what this guy. I don't know why this guy even runs at all anymore. I guess he doesn't. But you see him in the freaking end zone. There was like some fight in the end zone, and Allen like comes from like 50 yards away and like tries to like shoulder block some freaking guy in the defense. You know what I mean? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Just relax.
You can't do that if you're a quarterback. Although the problem is he's a huge guy.
I know, but I mean,
yeah, no, I got you.
But I like Diggs, I guess. I like Allen, but I don't really like Allen without the rushing upside. So I don't know. I think Diggs is probably a good play. Buffalo, I don't know what else to play on Buffalo though. New England, I'll just throw it out there. I have what's his name? Kendrick Bourne. Wait, I see not on that team anymore. I was about to say
that's right.
He's still on the team. I have him as a good cheap point per dollar play in what might be a good game script for him. So that's pretty much all I have is Diggs on the Buffalo side and Kendrick Bourne on the New England side.
Yeah, hard to ignore Bourne after he had 11 targets last week and 10 catches. So I get it. At 4,400, he's going to look like a decent play. I also think you can make an argument for Devontae Parker if you wanted to go that route. I'm fine with a Buffalo hammer stack, like an Allen to Diggs, one of the tight ends. Actually, it would just be Knox because we have no Kincaid this week, I believe, or most likely.
Kincaid is actually going to be back, I think.
So we'll see about Kincaid. I've got him up. I've got him as different sites have him as in, different sites have him as out. So we'll have to see. So potentially Dawson.
Yeah, one of those guys is due, right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, or you can go I love both receivers. Separate from stacks even, I think both Diggs and Davis are terrific plays. But I think Davis is my preferred guy just because he's down in that 5,900 range. Massive ceiling. You could take the old Belichick thing, even though I don't think we should be giving Belichick any credit for, this year for past things anymore. If they do try to put all the attention on Diggs, Davis certainly would be in line for a monster game. So I like Gabe Davis as sort of a sneaky play. So I like the idea of playing one of Diggs or Davis, and I think Bourne is fine. So you see a lot of low totals with some pretty chalky plays, just something to keep an eye on this week. Probably worth pointing out. Even though again, I like some of these guys because we can only play the guys who are playing, and there are some really iffy situations. All right, Cheats, make the case for Daniel Jones this week.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays, I think that this is this could be the Miller Maker winner, right? I mean, as long as the weather sort of holds. I mean, you play the same Washington guys I played last week. Sam Howell, McLaurin, Samuel. You play Wan'Dale Robinson. For the Giants, and presume he plays, or do the other way, where you play Daniel Jones, like you said. I don't know if coming back off an injury, he's going to be inclined to take off too much, but I don't know if he knows anything else. I think I say if the weather holds. I have no information. The weather's not going to be good, but that's always as you get later into the year, you have to think about. But weather should be fine. You have two defenses. Listen, Washington came into the season with the reputation of having a good defense, but that doesn't seem to have held. So I don't know. I'll tell you this. Who looked pretty good was Barkley in the second half. I don't know if he's questionable again. But you play Barkley, Robinson. Who else had look better was Waller. Yeah, I'm in. I mean, I'll play this game. I'll play the guys I've heard of, And on the Washington side, what's his name sniped a touchdown for me. I didn't play Gibson. Gibson scored a touchdown. I'm down with this Logan Thomas tight end. Sure.
Yeah, I hate this game, but the problem is I hate the game, but there's so much value at receiver. It's just like I have like a little note here. It's just Washington and New York receivers because they're just so cheap. But that's kind of for a reason on the New York side. On the Washington side, one of these guys could certainly have a big game against the Giants. I'm having trouble knowing which one. McLaurin's price is tempting. Dotson's prices. He dropped a big one last week that would have been a monster play. Curtis Samuel's been really good, and they're using him in multiple ways. I think that your best bets here are Wandale and then pick a receiver from Washington. And if you wanted to play a quarterback, I think Daniel Jones is the right one to play because of the rushing upside. But I don't feel really great about anything here. I will note that there is a potential for a stack that could hit something, but I really think it's kind of a gross slate when we're talking about the Giants and Washington as a
but that's the point, though. You know what I mean? Like Buffalo, New England, that doesn't have to be anything. Cleveland, Indianapolis could be a disaster. Vegas, Chicago have backup quarterbacks. You know, it's
put it on my list. Yeah. I'm going to put it on there because it's an interesting one that's worth considering for sure. Like, all right. So let's talk about, why don't you start off with Atlanta? I've got some thoughts on this one. I'll weigh in on afterwards.
Yeah. So Rachaad White's going to look like a good play as he has from time to time. And he's cheap. You know, he's cheap. That's going to make him a good play. So I guess he's going to look all right. The Atlanta skill guys, the same guys as always. London and Pitts, and then Bijan Robinson. Again, people have been waiting for the big breakout game. I mean, again, this, and then on the Tampa side, I'm just kind of looking here. What else? Evans and Godwin. No, none of them are out, right? So I guess this is an even game. As good as any other crap games, you know. So I guess the only like one off I would consider is maybe Rachaad White. Aside from that, I mean, sure, this game could deliver. I mean, listen, I always say that Atlanta's kind of where fantasy points go to die, but you know, last week they won some of $1 million. Who am I to say? You know, so who knows?
Mm-hmm. So that I think that was more the case. The funny part is, since they've added Bijan Robinson, they've actually been playing faster. And even if they run the ball, they're just getting up to they have weapons now. Like, they have a lot of things they can use. So I'm not going to write this game off as a game stack, even though it looks kind of ugly. I think that, you know, Robinson and White are both solid plays. I think. Well, White as a guy I try not to play usually. This is a matchup I think I could probably play him a little bit. Godwin and Evans, because the prices are close enough. I think they're both interesting plays. Godwin, especially on FanDuel, is really cheap this week. But Drake London's price and Kyle Pitts' price are tempting enough for me to take some chances with those guys. So this is another sort of secondary game that I'm looking at potentially stacking, but I'm telling you what, I'm not all that excited about it. And I'll tell you, I do think that Tampa Bay is going to feel a lot better not having to face that Lions defense that they just couldn't do anything against last week. But I think Baker's going to actually pick up some steam as the week goes on. And I would say that I think Desmond Ridder is just as good a play, maybe even a better play than Baker. So, but they're both fine to me if you wanted to spend down at quarterback. That's how I feel about a lot of things on this slate. A lot of fines, a lot of okays, but nothing I'm overly excited about.
So I'll let you start with the Zach Evans experience. You tell me about him. You tell me.
You know what game you're talking about.
Oh,
the Rams. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're talking about what could be 75.
Well, I'm trying to juggle between screens. I can't see which games you're on. So.
Sorry. We're talking about a guy who could be 75% owned in single entry.
Yeah. The Zach Evans is going to be the play of the week. Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you start? You tell me about the Rams Pittsburgh game, and then I'll.
So Zach Evans, 6th-round pick for the Rams this year, is basically, along with Royce Freeman, so one of those guys is gonna take over the running back role. Now the Rams they're basically they switched back to their old style and are using the pass basically as their running game. So that's probably worth noting. Between Kupp and Nakua, it's just. You just can get so many 5-7 yard plays out there that have so much more upside than their running game has when they don't have their running back. So look, Evans as of right now is definitely going to be a priority. If he really ends up as high owned as people think, I'm totally happy to pivot off because it could be Royce Freeman. And it could be both combining for like 15 points between them. I don't feel like this is a good matchup. And if the ownership steams a little too high on Evans, I'll get off. So basically, if he's above 30%, I'm probably going to be a little bit under. I'll be under the field. If he's below if he's like 20% or below, I'll be way above the field. I don't think that he's going to be 20% or below. But it's probably worth noting that, like, I don't know that these guys are any better plays than Najee Harris or Jalen Warren at only 1,000 and 1,200 more on the other side. And I don't really like those guys either. So I think we might be reaching just because we see that 4K. Just a thought. Even though I believe Zach Evans has some talent. I'm interested a little bit in some of the receiving from this game. Obviously, Cooper Kupp, probably the safest bet to put up 20 fantasy points of anybody in the NFL every week, or at least he has been over the past few years. I like George Pickens as a play here, and I'm open to Deontay Johnson, but I'm not quite getting the game stacks as of now. Maybe I'll reconsider that because it is a good, they're playing indoor. They're playing in SoFi. It's going to be really Pittsburgh centric in there, so it's basically going to be like a home game for Pittsburgh. And I think Stafford's going to have some ownership. I'm going to say I might do the gross thing again and just say, okay, maybe I'll throw Kenny Pickett into a lineup or two. I guess this game has to make my tier 2 of games. Yeah, I think it does, just because there's enough plays I like individually to play here. Both Higbee and Freiermuth are fine at tight end, but certainly not that exciting. So I would say the priorities for me would be Pickens, Cooper Kupp, and it's hard to play Nakua at 7,600 with Kupp in a tough matchup. So, but these guys get all the work. So I don't know. I might do a little bit of it. I'm still up in the air whether I want to stack this game or not.
Just to throw in, the Rams also signed old school Myles Gaskin and Darrell Henderson to their practice squads.
Yeah.
So it's possible that one of them gets moved up. And if so, you could have a guy who's not on the DK slate score a touchdown. That would be fun. Because neither of those guys are on DK salary.
Yeah, and my guess is that it'll probably be like just Henderson at least has been with some of the offense before, but it's hard with McVay because while they might bring some guys who you might not have heard of up, those guys usually have been in the system for a little while, and it's not an easy thing to do to play in the system if you're not experienced at it. So I don't know if I can just plug somebody in. So
we're just gonna have to continue to watch the coach speak and watch everything. But the one thing about the Rams is they're not sharing work in the running back position. It's like if they think that Evans can be the guy, he's going to get everything. I think. And I think that Kupp is very, like you said, he's the staple, and he's going to be a really safe play. I like him, and I like your Pickens play as well. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a game that could go off though for some reason. Pittsburgh always seems to play play good defense, and when I say a game that can't go off, that doesn't mean Cooper can't get 30. So I don't know if I'll. But then again, you play like one thing. You play Kupp with Kupp, Evans, and Pickens, and play neither of the quarterbacks. That could work pretty well also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm fully in support of something like that. And the only thing I just would say, just beware of the Evans steam a little bit. Like,
it's going to be steam.
Yeah, it just seems like, but there's so many other value running backs this week. It's just, they're not exciting, but neither is he. Like this is not a good matchup. It's not like they're playing Denver.
And he's not like really supposed to be a great running back. He plays on special teams, right?
He's played 6 games in the NFL.
Right.
Give him a chance. He's a 6th rounder. Our 5th rounder is the next great receiver in the history of the NFL.
I guess so.
So maybe they do trust him. All right. So let's move over to Green Bay and Denver, or do you have the other one?
I have Arizona first.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I went to the 115. All right, Cheeks, go ahead here because this.
So we have 2 questionable. Well, at least they list as questionable receivers for Seattle. I was about to say something stupid. I was going to say I presume they play, but it's like it's kind of silly to even presume anything. We'll know. Nonetheless, you have the third guy, the J. Smith Najigba, who's the up and comer, I guess, hasn't really done anything. He's been on the field, I guess. He's had some targets. But it's still the other guys, I imagine. I don't know. But listen, late slate, I would definitely try it. All right. So Kenneth Walker is going to be probably the most popular kind of like normal running back. That's not Evans. Either him or we'll get to maybe Eckler, whatever it is. But Walker is probably going to look really good. And it's kind of hard for me to argue it. So Walker, I guess this whole Seattle team, right? I guess this is what people are going to play aside from Baltimore, right? Oh, you know what? I have to take this. I really apologize.
Okay, I'll talk about that game and then we'll see.
Hi, how are you?
All right. So basically, we've got this is part of the problem. We do these live recordings, but we wanted to, we always did recordings before. Then we would load the videos and then have people. But we wanted to have the option of at least some people coming in. It looks bad for us, so I don't know if we should keep doing it, but we'll keep it.
I'm back. I'm good. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, I was just talking briefly about maybe. I think it sometimes looks like a really bad thing for us that we only have like 3 or 5 people watching or 2 for these early looks. So I was saying that like we used to record and do it, but we like it when some people do jump in. So it's kind of a tricky thing to manage. Anyway, so I think this is a great game to target. We don't have that many other ones. The problem, I do worry that Arizona is going to have trouble keeping up here. So I'm a little bit nervous about that part of it. But if you wanted to play Marquise Brown, either way, he's going to get plenty of work. And then pick one of Michael Wilson or Rondale Moore if you wanted to go with that stack. Or if you wanted to go with the Seattle, the Lockett Metcalf, I think they're both reasonably enough priced. And I like the idea of some Smith and Jigba. So I would probably play Smith and Jigba with one of Lockett or Metcalf. And I think I would play, and then Geno. And then the other side, I would play Kenneth Walker with one of the receivers. And I would play, potentially Dobbs with the 2, maybe Marquise Brown and either Moore or Wilson. So I actually have this game as finally one that I can at least, even though I'm nervous about it, I can at least say, okay, you know what? I feel good enough to where that's where I want to get a lot of pieces. I think Seattle, Arizona is a little better than these other games we've talked about just for upside. A little worried that Seattle's defense might be better than I think, but we'll see. And Arizona has covered every week but one this season. So they've made games competitive. And Sheets seems to have disappeared. So I don't know what happened. All right. So we're going to keep going. I'm glad to hear it, guys. Thanks, Ronald. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate that. That's nice to hear. I'm not sure what happened to Sheets, but I'm going to have to keep going because we don't have a way of pausing this or doing anything like that. So I'm going to finish it out here. I really like the Green Bay Denver game. So basically, it does seem like a little bit of an over projection on Wilson. I think I would go the Jordan Love route here. I think that you could play Sutton as a run back. There's Sheets. Sorry, we're talking about Green Bay and Denver. I really like this Green Bay Denver game. I think this is a spot where we can definitely do some things. I like Jordan Love to whether it's Watson. I'll have a combination of all Watson, Dobbs, Reed, excuse me. I like Aaron Jones. I think you could play Russell Wilson. I'm a little less excited about that, but I like Cortland Sutton quite a bit. And those are the main plays for me. I would mix in maybe a little Javonte Williams, although I'm worried they're going to give McLaughlin a little bit more and more work. Oh, I forgot to mention Musgrave. So I think you have a nice, easy double stack if you want to go that route with Love. And I think you could argue that you could use Aaron Jones in that stack. But a lot of guys to choose from in this game, and I think that I'm going to be well overweight this situation. Feels like it's going to be an afternoon slate a lot for me. I don't expect other people to be heavily on this game, which is weird. This is the highest total we've talked about, and no one's planning on playing it. And that just seems like it could be a mistake. So I'm going to be very, very high on this one.
Yeah, for me, I have Luke Musgrave as the top point per dollar tight end play on the slate. So I figured I would just throw that in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you. I think that Denver's defense is really poor. And I like what's his name? I think Christian Watson would probably be my favorite from Green Bay, along with the tight end. And then you can always play these Denver guys, like you said, Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. I don't know what happened to Marvin Mims. I guess he's only had 25% of snaps. I thought he was supposed to be the next thing. I guess not.
No, not really. He was just only a thing because the other guys were out.
Okay.
And then he had big games because they're down every game, so they have to throw the ball. He does make some big plays, but I think he's their third, fourth, 3-4 receiver, depending on which way you look at it. Probably their third.
So actually, these 4 o'clock games, I think all 4 of these have potential. We'll talk about the Chief game last, right? So the Pitt Ram, we had a couple of good plays from there. Arizona, Seattle, all over the place there. A lot of plays there.
Yep.
I think. I left before you gave your opinion there. I think.
Which one? Seattle, Arizona.
You like both sides of that game, right?
Yeah, more on the Seattle side, and a little nervous about Arizona, but at the same time, Arizona has been the best team against the spread in football this year, so we may as well assume it's close until further. It's going to be a little rainy. That's one thing to keep an eye out for. But yeah, I'll Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz, all those, Michael Wilson. That would be a run back, I think, if you wanted one. And honestly, I don't think you need a run back this week in most of these games.
What do you think? What do you think of the Chargers and the Chiefs, and who's your favorites?
Well, I was hoping you'd start this one off so I could
I'll start it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sure. Mahomes, Pacheco's one of the better running backs. I like him. As far as the receivers, I don't know. I'm going to just flip a coin, I guess. Oh my God, McCall Hardman's back. They picked him up, I think, from the Jets or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Is he actually going to be active and
I don't even have him
playing? Yeah, they picked him up Wednesday. I don't know. I don't know if they'll pull him right back in there, but yeah, they picked him up from the Jets. Rashad Rice, and Kelsey, I suppose. Kelsey, the top wide receiver, I suppose, and then Rashad Rice, Tony again. He's cheap enough where you can just keep playing him, I suppose. And then on the Chargers, you have Keenan. Oh, what a Quentin Johnston. He had only two targets. So it's just the Keenan Allen. I guess just the Keenan Allen show, I suppose. I mean, they rate to be behind. He throws to him every freaking possession. So Keenan Allen and Eckler for the Chargers. Why be fancy? I don't know. What do you like here?
Yeah, Quentin Johnston has never really been a thing. Just FYI. But I mean, Darius Davis, who we talked about the other night on the showdown, was even getting some looks, and he does the punt returning. Quentin Johnston, though, I have to say though, because I'm going to be having this game stacked, I'm going to play some Quentin Johnston this week. Mostly, I like, my favorite is Keenan Allen, but I think Josh Palmer is like one of the best plays on the slate too.
Ooh, I didn't even notice. He's only 4,800, copying off of 7, 8, and 7 targets. You're right.
Yeah, and not only that, this is theoretically, historically been a better shootout type of game. The problem is the Chiefs are not the same Chiefs this year.
No.
And I just want to point out one thing, going back to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, talking about Pacheco every week. And this never works.
What?
I don't know if the Chiefs running back has ever been in a winner ever. And every week they look tempting. And I just can't figure out. I know he had a good week this year against the Jets, of all things, but that was a really weird game. I just feel like every time I look at the early projections of they always love the Chiefs running backs, and it just feels like it never ever works. But I too initially had the Pacheco as one of my guys, but I was hoping to get him at lower ownership. So yeah, Pacheco. I mean, if I'm picking a quarterback that I have to play here, I probably is going to be Herbert. I think Palmer and Allen make for a nice pairing. But boy, I'll tell you what, anybody who faded, and Parham was only 9%. Parham was there for everything the other night against Dallas. You know what I mean? They looked for him in the end zone multiple times on third and 8 to go. They had a couple of looks for him there. This is the guy that they seem to be pretty comfortable with. And then they ran the design play for Gerald Everett. So it's kind of tricky because they really have 2 tight ends. So maybe you just play Kelsey as a tight end, and then use the Palmer, Keenan Allen, and Justin Herbert stack. And I think that makes for a nice little core. You're spending a lot, but there aren't a whole lot of games to fall in love with this week. So as far as the wide receivers go for Kansas City, another one that I'm pretty sure, I don't think they've had anybody on a winning lineup yet. On a significantly winning. I still think Tony is worth taking a shot on at 3,800. I think Rice, 47. I would rather play some of I mentioned Josh Palmer on the other side. I'd rather play Josh Palmer than Rice, but I have no problem with Rice. I just would rather play Josh Palmer. So but again, Kelsey, the priority is Kelsey, Allen, Palmer. Probably not going to get to Eckler. but then I will play Pacheco, and then both quarterbacks are both strongly in play. This is one of the three that my three favorite games of the week are all in the afternoon. Chargers, Kansas City, Seattle, Arizona, Denver, Green Bay. And then my next favorite game would be Detroit and Baltimore. Some of my favorite, and we mentioned everybody's going to ask about Evans, and we've got even a question here from Ronald in chat, who, by the way, the guys are saying that they love it. They love the, not so many people there, and they love to get some, they like being able to come in live, basically. You asking about Brian Hoyer at 4.9. I don't know that Brian Hoyer is going to start for sure. We'll see. I don't think it's the kind of play that's at all profitable in the long run, because it is a good matchup, but if you're going to play 5K quarterbacks, we have other guys who we actually feel confident. Like if Brian Hoyer has a bad half, it'll be O'Connell, most likely. You know what I mean? I don't see why they would be trying to protect O'Connell, who's a rookie. Anyway, I am not the kind who plays the Brian Hoyer thing. If I'm going to play the 5K guys, I'll play Daniel Jones at 5,600 with some rushing upside. I'll play guys who can actually get me some points. I'll play I won't play Mac Jones either. I'll play Desmond Ridder at 5,200 who can both run and has some guys to target. I just would rather spend down if you're going to spend for other guys. So just wanted to get that point out of the way. But and at running back, you've got the Zach Evans obvious play, but you've also got Ford and Hunt, and one of those guys could have a monster game, whereas Evans might not be in it. Rashad White, only 1,100 more. The Evans, and we don't know if it's going to be Royce, and we want to see who's active for the Rams, and you're not going to know that probably until after the first game's lock on Sunday. So Evans might end up looking like a lot worse play by the time that game kicks off if they end up with 4 running backs available and use 3 of them. Just keep it in mind. I like your Musgrave on the low end, Kelsey on the high end, Andrews in the middle for tight ends. Wide receivers will primarily be focused on the afternoon games, as I mentioned, the Chargers, Seattle. Definitely we'll have some Marquise Brown on Arizona, and then the Green Bay receivers I'm interested in this week at a cheap price.
I'll tell you what I like. Baltimore, Detroit's going to be pretty obvious. But
I don't think it's going to be that obvious.
You know what I mean?
I mean, what's obvious about it? I think you're thinking of a different Detroit team. This is one of the best defenses in the league. It's not like the Detroit team we used to play. And also Detroit never does anything. They never put up anything on the road. Sorry, go ahead, Chiefs.
Good. So I like that one. And then the Washington Giants game. And I'm really getting into this idea. And you know what else I'm getting into? Kenneth Walker is going to be 7K and 30% owned. How about paying an extra sadistic 1,100 more for Charles Barkley, for Saquon Barkley? I'm kind of into this one. So early games: Detroit, Baltimore, Washington Giants. Later games, they all look pretty decent, but I guess, boy, oh boy, they all look pretty decent in their own ways. Chiefs look fine, I guess. I don't know what to play. I guess Arizona, Seattle makes the most sense to me, but I don't know. I'll have to see. But all 4 of those games look pretty good. But the Giants, Washington, and I guess Buffalo, Detroit would be my 2 kind of hoodoo games.
So maybe this week the plan is to maybe you have to play a morning slate lineup and then an afternoon, and then the afternoon slate is my main lineup. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's it. Exactly.
It seems like this week. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you being with us. I'm going to do another one with Rody. We'll get some takes from him, get some ideas. My early hot take of the week, which I usually like to wait for my Rody show. My wild take is that Jameson Williams is an incredibly.
I like that. I really like that.
So that's one. And if it's not this week, it's going to be sometime this year. He's going to put.
Oh no, it's going to be this week.
Okay, let's do it this week then. All right, Cheats. Anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's one of my things about content and stuff like that, which I've noticed. And it happens in MMA. It happens a lot when people say, "Well, I want to play this guy, but maybe I don't want to. Maybe I'll just wait. Just play it then." I mean, really, I don't know if it's going to be now, but it'll be eventually. Just play it then. It's just easier that way.
Yep. I actually agree with you, and even if not, I'll just regret it if I don't. And then even if I just either way, you feel bad.
You know what this is? This is also something I'm gonna start bringing out all my old horse racing terms from the past. Like again, that's what's called also like the John DeMott play. The John DeMott play was this: He's a guy I used to go to the track with, and he'd bet like freaking everything. Like he'd bet like the trifecta here, exactly here. He'd bet all these freaking tickets. And then what I always say to him is, all right, so now what's going to come in that gets you really, really mad? And he says this. I'm like, well, then go bet that too. You know what I mean? So at the very, very last thing, say, so what's going to come in that makes me really want to kill myself? Then make sure you get that also. So that's going to be the Jameson Williams.
I love it. All right, Jameson Williams for all the money. Let's get it. Yep. And we'll be me and Rody will be recording a little later. So good luck to everybody, and get ready. NBA's coming, and we're going to build up quite a bankroll for the season this weekend.
Yeah, get all of your sleep and get in shape. You know what I mean?
I've been trying to do. I've been eating healthy. I've been doing all my little.
Because the NBA is not for the out of shape.
No, it's also it's made for literally being glued to your computer all the time. So, anyway, we'll see how it happens. Anyway, good luck everybody, and